Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on week 3 of the Power Up Your Business digital marketing course. We'll be kind of moving on through the weeks. So this week, we'll be looking at the different marketing channels that you can be using for your advertising. We'll be looking at the Google organic listing, Google paid, social media, organic and paid, looking at potentially referral programs to get more business through that way, and email marketing as well. So first of all, if you've missed any of the weeks or want to go back to get any of the workbooks, we'll be emailing those out to you. But if you go to this URL, clickreturn.co.uk/workbooks, all of the videos are there, all of the slide decks are there, and all of the workbooks are there. So you can go and get those at any time. And so you don't need to make furious notes. They'll all be there for you to access on an ongoing basis. So just a quick question on how have you guys been getting on with the homework between times? So obviously week 2 was a bit more detail. You had stuff to do. So Sam, I'm going to come to you first. How did you get on?
Oh, it gave me so much to think about, because I suddenly realized that really my website doesn't appeal to one of my main avatars hardly at all.
Which avatar is that?
This is the interior designers. So there is, as you know, a little page for them.
Yeah.
But I was talking to Dean on Wednesday, and we're going to have a proper talk on Monday about really I need to kind of ramp that up and make it more obvious that it's interior designers and homeowners that I would like to be interested, but because they are the two that we're kind of doing our Google AdWords and Facebook ads and all that kind of stuff.
Everything towards.
So it's working a plan out with him to tweak things a bit.
Okay.
So that it suits them
perfect.
Both.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah.
Carol, how did you get on?
I did nothing. So that's the honest thing.
That's perfectly honest, Carol. Thank you.
But I will say, in reflection of what Sam's saying, the previous week I did start to edit my pages, almost using checklist. Do I have a testimonial on this page? What are the particular words, descriptive words for, i.e. Google Ads? Do I have that somewhere in there? Do I have my meta tags? So yeah, I've done this stuff before, but what I'm finding really, really good, it's making me go back and be accountable for the things that you're bringing forth.
Yeah. So kind of just coming back to that, Carol, both this week and next week will give you a greater understanding of how to kind of craft those pages. So, I know you're keen to get into the website and make changes, but there's 2 more weeks of learning, I think, before you should be editing those pages. Right.
Okay.
So I think by the end of next week would be the perfect time for you to be kind of cracking into your website and making edits. Okay.
Super. Thank you.
Okay. We'll carry on.
Does that go for everybody, Brad? Really?
Yes. Sam, some of the stuff in 2 weeks' time you're going to know already, Sam, because you've been doing it. But yeah, it does work for everybody.
Okay.
So I'm going to kind of reiterate what we talked about at the start of last week's session, is that we start with a big thank you, because this is key to understanding everything we're doing. So every time a form gets submitted on your website, we want it to redirect to a thank you page so that we can track the results. So this is kind of one example of a thank you page, which is kind of a bit more lighthearted. It makes people smile when they see it. But the reason why it's so important is that when you get into analyzing your Google Analytics and what your website is doing, you can segment the data as to, right, I'm putting lots of effort into my search engine optimization, and I can see the exact return on investment, how many people have filled in the form because of my organic listings. I can see how many people have filled in the form because of my paid search, and I can see how many people have filled in the form because of my social media advertising. So it's back to what we talked about at the start. We've got to get the tracking sorted so that you know how effective all of this stuff that you're doing is. Okay. And that then gives us the ability to kind of test and measure, so we can see what the best channels are, and we can tag up your emails, and we can kind of work out what your conversion rate is on your website. Now, this website's got a goal. This is just one of many goals on this website, which is why it has a low conversion rate, because they're tracking multiple forms and a checkout. But this is just the people filling in one form. When we start an advertising campaign with somebody, we would expect an overall conversion rate of 2%. So we would want 50 people hitting the website, turning into one piece of new business, and that would be our ideal. Okay, and having that tracking in place allows us to monitor that. So today we're going to be talking about the difference between search advertising and social media stuff. And the two things that you've got in there are, Google is more about people's immediate need. When they need something, they go to Google and search for it. So they will search for a widget. They'll search for the best one of these to buy. They'll search, I'm looking for lessons in this. How do I do that? Where can I buy this? And because that is their immediate need, the conversion rate is high because they want that product already. So if you can put yourself in front of those people at that time, they want your service, so you will have a higher conversion rate. They just need to choose who they are going to be buying it from or getting to do that service with them. Whereas on the other side, Facebook advertising it's more of an interruption process. People are not on Facebook trying to buy things; they're on there being social. So when you're on social media trying to put yourself in front of people, it's more of an interruption. So therefore the conversion rate is a lot lower. Now that's not to say we can get a fantastic return on investment from it, but the way that you target things is much different. Because they're not got the immediate need, you need to understand your customer's avatar in detail so that you can target your content to those people specifically. And if you're doing social media advertising, you can target to their age, their location, their interests, their education. So back to the customer avatar, that piece of work lends itself all the way along the advertising process as to who you're targeting and how to attack, how to put yourself in front of them. So what you'll get is you'll get two different sides of it. If you're advertising on Google, it is about putting yourself in front of somebody's immediate need so that you're getting instant sales and leads. So when we have a new customer come to us, they tend to talk about Facebook, but really what they're after is they want business straight away. So we would recommend starting an advertising campaign as the first thing, because it will produce instant results and instant sales because of the high buyer intent. Whereas social media is much more about building your brand awareness, growing your audience, and promoting innovative new products. So if someone doesn't know of a specific service or product, social media is a good place to get it out there, because they won't be searching for it because they don't know that it exists. Okay. So this is just an understanding of Google. Google is the #1 search platform on the planet. Then 90% of all searches done are through Google. So it is a huge amount. On average, every single person on the planet does between 3 and 4 Google searches per day. So if you want to get in front of your customers, you have to be on Google. Now, Google want to gather more data about you and understand your target audience. So Google have all of these different platforms in order to get more data to target your stuff. So Google make Android to run mobile phones simply because they want to know your physical location. So if you've got an Android phone, Google knows where you are, and then they can deliver more targeted adverts to you. So as a company, all of this stuff helps you understand your clients in more detail, and put yourself out there more. So this is kind of an anatomy of a Google search, because when I start this process with lots of customers, they don't really understand what actually happens on a search page. So what we try and kind of do is, this is a screenshot of what you would see if you search on a PC or on a Mac. And this is what we class as above the fold. So this is what people see at the bottom of the page. So that the actual organic listings, so the stuff that you see without having to pay for it, are further down the page. You won't actually see them, right? So you've got 3 paid adverts at the top appearing here, and then I've got map listings appearing, right? This is kind of the whole screenshot kind of stripped out on the page. So you can see that it's really long, right? And it kind of breaks down into, the top section has paid adverts on Google. The next section is the Google My Business, which is like the Google Map section or a knowledge pane, depending on what it is. I mean, if it's a specific query about how do you do this technical algebra thing, Google tend to try and put the results on the page so you can get your answer without going to a website. So sometimes you'll see the maps listing, sometimes you'll see the knowledge pane. Then you'll tend to get a section of rich snippets. So rich snippets would be, if you're looking to go to the cinema, your local cinema will have the data on their website formatted in a specific way so that the date and time of the showings of the film that you want will appear on the search results, so you can see what time the show's on even before going to their website. And there are rich snippets that happen for recruitment companies, for all different types of things, which will get data onto the search engines. And both of these sections are free. So you need to be looking at, if that is applicable to your company, how can you make sure that you're in that section of the search engines? And this is kind of the next section. So this is the organic listings of Google. Look how far down the page they are in some responses. So they're a long way down, right? And what we've seen over the years with our customers is, even if someone has a first page listing high up on the first page of Google, the amount of traffic and business that organic listing has brought has slowly been diminished as Google has been increasing the amount of property that appears above the organic free stuff. So even though it's still really important, even if you're appearing high on the search engines, we would still recommend doing a paid listing to get you at the top as well. Okay. And then you get more paid adverts at the bottom. Okay. Now that is even more of a problem if you're searching on a phone. Sam's got a question. Go for it, Sam.
Brad, do you pay less to appear at the bottom than at the top?
Yes. Yes, but not always. Okay. So most of the time is the answer to that one. What you'll find is that on a mobile phone, because there's less screen, the adverts are slightly smaller, but you will actually only see adverts normally when you do a search on Google, and people are used to swiping with their fingers to kind of cover a large area of website. So this page is even longer. The next section that you kind of get on your listing is the Google My Business. And the rich snippet stuff. And this bit is the bit that we're going to look at first, because this is really important for your company, especially if you've got a local coverage. This is uber important because it can create a lot of interest and a lot of business to your company, right? So this used to be Google Local. It's now called Google My Business. So in order to check, you can either go to Google Maps and look for your business, or you can just go to search Google for Google My Business and log in to get control of your company, right? And we're going to have a look at a few things. So once you've got control of your Google My Business listings, there are certain things that you can do to try and improve your Google My Business listing. Now, there's not a huge amount that you can do, but there are some things. So and because it's free and so important, we're going to kind of take some time to look at it. And the first section of your workbook today looks at the Google My Business listing, okay? So the first thing to do is the title. Most people just put their company name as the title. And if your company name does not include your keywords, then you're missing out on a huge trick. So the thing that I would suggest within the company name within your Google My Business listing is rename your company to include some of the keywords that you have within your profile, right? Now, next week, we're going to work on keywords in more detail. So if you don't know the exact keyword, then we're going to refine that next week, and we'll kind of go from there. But that is the most important optimization you can do, is rename your company to make sure that you have keywords in it. Then you can list your business categories in there. You can add your address. Now, this is kind of really important. The format that you put the address on your Google business listing and your website and every other directory that you put your information out there, it needs to be identical. You need to make sure that it's capitalized in the same way. It's got the same spacing on it. You don't put RD instead of road on one of them. You need to make sure that it's consistent across all areas, because Google then knows that your website is related to your Google business listing. It knows that this listing is the same thing. Everywhere that same piece of address occurs in relation to you, it will help your Google local listing, and it will help this map listing appear higher up compared to your competitors. So it's really important that your address is consistent everywhere. You then get a description to kind of describe what your business is about. Normally people would need to click to see that in more detail. Make sure that you've got your keywords in that description as well. Okay. Then you need to you can add pictures into there as well. You can add your logo and pictures of your business from the outside, pictures of your business from the inside. You can add pictures of your team. Now, there's kind of a little hack that you can do there. Instead of uploading your pictures on the file name of the camera that you've taken them on, which might be IMG 2002 or .jpeg, rename the pictures to have the keywords in the file name, right? So for you, Sam, you would want to put lighting designer head office .jpeg, and you upload those pictures with that keyword inside the file name. Insert your opening hours, inside your web address and phone number. There's another thing that they've added recently, is that you can actually add an appointment link. So you can see on my one, I've added a link to my Calendly. So people straight from my Google business listing can go to my Calendly calendar and book an appointment straight into my diary, which is good as well. And then there are some things which kind of take it to the next level. We're going to look at those in more detail in a second, but I need to stop talking, have a slurp of tea. So I want you to just pull up your own Google My Business listing, and I want you to just look at, does it contain one of your keywords inside your company name? And once you've done that, can you put yes, it does, or no, it does not inside the chat, please? Okay. And I'll give you a couple of minutes, like 60 seconds to do that. Yes, I'm pleased yours does, Sam. Well done.
I think you might have already been involved in that one, because it says Sam Coles Lighting Specialists.
Yes, that is definitely my handiwork.
I think so.
Alison, have you had a chance to look at yours? Oh, you're on mute, Alison. No. So Rachel's no. So I think.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah.
It's asked me to sign into my Google account. Do I need to do that?
You could just go on to Google Maps and search for your company in there and just see what it actually brings up for you. That would be a quick way to do it instead of having to log in.
Okay.
So Rachel, I think in your case, yours probably just says Belvoir Lettings, does it?
Hi, yeah, it says letting agent, and I really want to change that to sales and lettings.
Okay.
I
Well,
think somebody else owns my.
I think within yours, people don't search for sales agent. They search
No,
for
this is an
estate
estate
agent.
agent. Yeah.
So you need to change it to the actual keyword. So the keyword will be estate agent and
Yeah.
letting agent.
So I've got the category estate agent, but you're saying I want to have articles
It needs
about
to be in the company name. It's the
in
most.
the company. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. So Alison's got her address needs updating, but you've got the keyword in there. Okay. So that's good. So you kind of understand what you've got to do. And inside your workbook, there's a kind of a checklist to go through within the workbook of more stuff to kind of go through to kind of do that stuff there. Okay. Where did my next page go? Right. Okay. So I'm just going to quickly look at the last three things, because you can add posts to your Google Business listings. You can link it to kind of a messaging app. You can actually answer questions about your business. You know, does it have disability ramps and things like that? But the most important part within your Google Business listing is reviews. And I've got customers who they've gone through the Trustpilot process. They've got lots of reviews on Trustpilot. Trustpilot reviews can sometimes feed into the Google My Business, but he's now got over 80 reviews on his Google My Business, and it's driving more traffic to the website, and it's creating a higher conversion rate on the website. So once you've got lots and lots of reviews in there, we would include that data in the website as well to help push up your website conversion rate. So once you've got your profile sorted, you need to be pushing people there to get more reviews on that, because it will drive up the number of people that go to your website instead of your competitors, right? It's key. So the next section on there is kind of understanding the keywords. So Google offers the chance for you to put yourself in front of people who are searching for a specific keyword. So how it works is that within Google Ads, you advertise on a keyword. Google then matches that keyword to the exact search that somebody does. And that could be an exact match, or it could be kind of a similar match, right? And then Google sends them to your landing page, right? Now, if you're after a kind of a perfectly lined up approach, if somebody searches for estate agent in Enfield, then the page that we want to land them on needs to be the estate agent page about sales, instead of your general page, which can be about sales and lettings. You want to take them to the page which is specifically about the keyword that you're trying to advertise, because you get a higher quality score and stuff like that, and you'll get higher retention on the site and a higher conversion rate, right? So the way that Google Ads works is that once you've chosen the keyword that you want to advertise on, it then is a kind of that you get a quality score based on, is it the advert that we have created, is it relevant, and is the URL that we're landing people on relevant to the keyword that we're advertising on? So, you know, sometimes the best page is the home page, but it might be more generic. But lots of people spend more time crafting their homepage than the other pages on their website. So they want to land people at the homepage, but it's a mistake. As we've discussed previously, every page on your website should be a landing page. So you want to match the keyword to a specific landing page that relates exactly to that term, right? And what that does is, once you've got those kind of three things working together, you get a quality score on Google, right, for your advert. And how that works, and this comes back to your question, Sam, is it cheaper to be at the bottom of the page? It's not necessarily. The position is based on price and your quality score. So if you can get your quality score higher, you will appear higher up the page and it will cost you less. I think a prime example of that is we were running advertising for a driving instructor in Enfield. and it was costing us 50p to put him at the top of page 1. Another driving instructor came in and he was running his own paid account, and he was paying £2.50 and only just scraping in at the bottom of the page, Sam, because his quality score was so low, right? Now, the solution for him was his company was called Harley's School of Motoring, and he had named his driving school after his son's name. And I said, well, the problem is that people think you're teaching them how to ride around on shiny motorbikes. And my suggestion was change your company name. When he said he couldn't change his company name because of his son's name, I told him to change his son's name. I don't know whether he did that. He didn't come back to me after that. So also, search engine optimization works in kind of exactly the same way. So if you're trying to optimize a keyword, the same page that you have made for your pay-per-click landing page kind of has the same criteria. The keyword needs to be on the page a certain amount of times. You've got to have your reputation stuff on there. So actually, what makes a great landing page for pay-per-click will also make a great search engine optimization page and give you a high page rank. So that process of understanding the keyword before you work on your page is critical. And that's why I said, Carol, is that actually before you start wading and updating the pages on your site, we need to have done our keyword analysis, and that detail is going to come in next week's session. Okay.
Yeah, thank
you. So that's why when we talked previously, you create one page per keyword group. And what we tend to do with clients is we'll kind of go through their advertising campaign, and they might have a list of 50, 100 keywords, but we will group them into kind of like terms. So for instance, you know, an example that springs to mind with you, Rachel, is that we will have one set of terms which might be letting agent terms, and we would make the landing page for them. We might have 10 or 15 keywords that all relate to letting agent. We put them all in the same group and land them on the same page. Right, and then we would have a separate group which would be estate agent terms. We might then have a separate group if you have a guaranteed rent service that might take people to a guaranteed rent page, or a property management service if you're trying to just attract landlords. And once you've got that kind of broken down into those sections, that will improve your quality score for the pay-per-click, and it will include your page rank for your SEO. So getting those landing pages kind of up to speed on each group of keywords is kind of critical. So the next section that I would like you guys to do in your workbook is I just would like you to write down what you think are your top 5 keywords inside that section. And then I need you to put those into the chat for me. The reason I need them in the chat is that next week we're going to do bespoke keyword research for each of you and send you your own custom workbook with your own keyword research and Google Trends in it. So I need you to work on your keywords now, and I need you to put 5 keywords in the chat for me, if that's okay. I'll give you a few minutes for that. Okay. Housing, land or property investment. Okay. So Carol's put in Guernsey tutor, Jersey tutor, Guernsey math tutor, Jersey math tutor, English tutor. Because of the advertising targeting, Carol, are you only delivering tutors in Guernsey and Jersey and Guernsey?
At this time we are, but because we are about 65% online because of the situation, we are looking at going worldwide, but not in those areas.
Yep. Okay.
So part of my problem is, amongst many, is refining what we want to do. So we are specialists in reading. So, you know, et cetera, and assessment and study skills, and, you know, and it goes on.
Yeah.
And those areas are more targeted, perhaps on a global basis than what I've written here.
So some of those terms, and we've done advertising for people in Jersey and Guernsey before, and we can be really targeted in the advertising. So the terms that we would want to advertise on would just be math tutor and English tutor. And the targeting would be so specific that we can crush it straight away. I know that from our previous experience with Guernsey and Jersey advertising.
So if you're refining it, can I put some other ones that for us are really important?
Yeah, put more in, because when we give you a list back next week, it will have a couple of 100 terms on it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. So Rachel, within yours, I'm just interested in the investment one. What's the investment keyword?
It was meant to be sort of about just investing in property, building a portfolio, that kind of thing.
So it's portfolio investment, property portfolio. Okay. And that's because you help people find the property, or you managing it for them?
Both. Ideally, we find it and then they stay with us.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Sam, lighting designer, lighting specialist, lighting plan, kitchen lighting, garden lighting. The benefit that we've got with Sam is because Sam's an existing client, we've got years of data which shows us which are the converting terms. So actually lots of those in there are kind of your converting terms already. The one that surprises me in there, Sam, is garden lighting, because it's not a very high converting one that we've had in the past.
No, but weirdly, that's what quite a few of my inquiries have actually been about recently.
Yeah. Okay. So astrology. So Alison, yours is astrology, intuition, sun and moon, horoscope, wheel of the year. So is there which of those is the paid service that you get paid to provide?
Well, all of it, but astrology. And I'm doing a little bit of a pivot at the moment, and I have been finding that people are interested in learning more about intuitive development. So yeah, those would be the keywords that I would think people would put into Google to find me.
Okay. Well, we'll do keyword research, and we'll kind of get that to you for next week so that you can kind of go through that then. Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Excellent. Thanks, guys. So this is kind of comparison of Google versus Facebook data. So the reach on Google is 3.5 billion searches per day, and Facebook has 1.4 billion active users. Now, the difference is that people will go to Google when they want something, so they're searching, so they're consistently searching. Facebook is more about keeping their attention, grabbing their attention. And, you know, there's been kind of studies, and, you know, the average active Facebook user is spending over 2.5 hours on Facebook a day, which to me seems terrifying. It's a terrifying amount of time. And that as the average must mean that some people are spending a lot more time on it per day. The cost of the advertising kind of ranges greatly, and the advertising on Google depends on how competitive your market is. So the report that you get next week with your Google keywords will show you what your advertising costs will be even before you spend any money. which is nice. The Facebook advertising can range from about 50 pence to £3 per click through to your website. And the conversion rates vary wildly. The conversion rate on Google is a kind of a conversion to an inquiry or a sale. Facebook measures its conversions very differently because it considers somebody signing up or liking you to be almost a win, when it's not really what we would class as new business. So if we actually make a conversion rate of somebody actually paying you money, which is further down the line, then this is the inquiry level, not the signed business. Okay. So then you've got a cost per conversion, and a cost per conversion on average is about £40 across Google, but then that ranges wildly. I've got some customers who have got converting at £4 per conversion, but they're the market leaders in their industry. And then I've got some customers who are selling manufacturing lines at about 1.5 million, and it's costing them about £200 a lead. But because their sales value is so high, they're still making good money on that. So we can kind of compare that, and once we understand and got the tracking in place with a thank you page, we'll be able to understand that for your customers as well. So I want to kind of look at some Facebook stuff now. So Facebook kind of own Facebook ads. You've got Facebook Live coming out, so you can kind of stream videos on there. Facebook also own Instagram, and they've kind of monetized Facebook and WhatsApp, Facebook and Instagram, but they also own WhatsApp. But Facebook have not worked out how to monetize that yet, right? But you can be sure that Facebook will be working that out. So there'll be some way in the future of advertising on WhatsApp kind of coming soon, I would have thought. So what we want to look at is kind of the Facebook organic posts. You know, when you're putting out content on Facebook, it's about building brand awareness, growing your audience, and kind of talking to your clients and innovating new products. So what we found is for companies during lockdown that have had to flip what they're doing, it's been the perfect platform for them to get out to the local community, have their friends and neighbors in the local area share their stuff, and it gets out to the local audience. This is a prime example. This customer was basically a catering supplier, so we're catering to parties. So when parties stopped, their business kind of stopped. They were already doing paella deliveries, but they flipped their business to provide kind of a 3-course meal dining experience for at home. And they would turn up with a starter, a main course, and a dessert, all ready to go, and would be delivering it to kind of the local area. And they are now busier and making more money and not having to work in people's weddings. So they're happier. And they've used Facebook to actually get that out there, right? Another example is just asking for help. When lockdown happened, kind of all of the nurseries, nobody was visiting them and everybody was in their garden. So they could see that there was a massive potential, but nobody could get in to buy any of the stuff. So they actually went on to Facebook. This company didn't even have a website. They just used Facebook to put on a little list of, we've got this stuff on offer, call us and tell us what you want, and we will come and deliver it to your house, right? And they got their customers to post pictures of when stuff was delivered and post pictures of when they'd finished planting it. And that created this local viral thing. So they didn't see a downturn. They actually kept the same level of business. They just had to work harder because they had to pick it, pack it, and deliver it. But it got them through the point where they were scared of actually having to close completely. So Facebook is great for getting out there and getting reviews and kind of feedback. So when you're doing organic posts on social media platforms, what you don't want to be doing is just selling. If you're just selling all the time, then people will just stop listening to what you've got and probably unsubscribe or block you from your channel. So what you want to be doing is you want to be kind of doing a ratio of 4-1-1. You don't need to be putting out original content of your own stuff all of the time, but you do need some of it. So what you really want to be doing is you want to be doing reposts or retweets of other people's content 4 times, and that can be news things that are relevant. Have you seen this? This is how to do this, or a quote from somebody else. Put out your own information, case studies, testimonials, infographic, news about what you're doing, and then do one sales message. Do you want to buy this? Now, it's important that you do put a sales message in there, because if you don't actually ask for the sale, people will not know how to interact and start to do business with you, right? So it's important that you don't bombard them with sales, but it's important that you do ask for the purchase or the booking or the sale or whatever it is that you want people to be doing. Okay. Then the next bit is kind of hashtags. Hashtags are kind of the keywords of social media. So actually understanding what the hashtags are that relate to your industry are kind of important to start including those in the social media posts that you're putting out. Now, there are a couple of tools out there to kind of, you put in a term and it will spit out kind of the top terms. But actually the best way that we've found of doing that is actually going onto one of your competitors' social media channels and searching for the hashtag that you think, and see what your competitors are using. Because if they're using it and they're being effective, then you can just kind of piggyback off of the terms that they've done and the research that they have done. So if you go to your competitors' social media, that will help you understand the hashtags that you can be using for yourself. Now, I don't want you to kind of be doing your competitor research at this point, but it would be good to understand what you think your hashtags are now. And if you can just put 1 or 2 hashtags into the chat for me, it may influence how we do the keyword research as well in your hashtags that you put in. So within that, Carol's put in specialist tutor. I think specialist tutor is more of a search term, not a hashtag. I'm presuming that the parents of the people that are on social media will be talking about schools or exams or, you know, GCSEs or whatever test it is that their kids are coming up to. So some of your hashtags, instead of being the search term, will be related to the fears and problems. So it might be, yeah, Cat 4CM. So they're the tests that these people will be taking, are they, Carol?
Yes.
Yeah. Sam, busy. You've got that one nailed, Sam. Yeah, it's good.
I use others depending on what I'm posting. Not that I post very often, but
yeah. Okay, that's good. I'm going to crack on, otherwise we're going to run out of time. So once you've kind of done your actual posts, there are kind of, you can do Facebook advertising, and Facebook do 2 levels of advertising. One is you can just create a post and then you can boost that post. Now, what that does is it just gets it out to more people, but the actual targeting that you can put on it is not very accurate, right? So even though it will be a good post and it will get out to a much larger audience, it might not match your avatar perfectly, right? The other part of Facebook advertising is kind of pixel advertising. So, you know, when you've been on a website and then those adverts kind of follow you everywhere, that is the most kind of accurate way that you can actually create your audience inside Facebook. Is you install a piece of code into your website, which is the pixel, and when somebody goes to your website, it kind of creates a profile. So if you've got 1,000 people that have hit your website over kind of a month or 2 months, Google then understands the type of people that are interested in your service because they're going to your website. Now, firstly, you can follow them with your advert. So, you know, most people won't buy from you on the first visit. So following them on Facebook is the quickest way to get a great return on investment from Facebook, right? and this is kind of the real power, because Facebook then understands your customer profile from the people that have visited your website. You can expand that advertising to a lookalike audience. So that means that it will take your existing customers and it will go, right, here are the customers that are the same. They've got the same location. They've got the same kind of interest, the same children kind of status. They, so whatever Google knows about your existing customers, it will find the same people. And you can kind of choose how close to your existing customer you want to be. If you want to widen up your audience, you can kind of go, okay, give me 5%. But the accuracy of how close they match to your customer will be not as tight. If you keep it down as tight as possible, your audience will be smaller, but the targeting will be better and your conversion rate will be much higher. Okay. And we're running some tests with customers at the moment where they kind of go, right, we're happy with the return on investment from the lookalike audience on 1%. Let's switch it up to 5%, chuck a load more money at it and see how it affects the return on investment. And it will be lower, but they will still get a good return on investment. And we're just testing that with a few clients at the moment. Facebook is obviously to kind of customers. Now, businesses seem to think that Facebook is more of a kind of a sociable thing. So business to business tends to all go on LinkedIn, even though, Facebook is a personal thing. Business to business customers can still sell on Facebook, but the targeting on LinkedIn is much more accurate, because on LinkedIn, you can target by somebody's job title. So if you just want to get in front of interior designers, then you can actually target them by their job title on LinkedIn, right? So LinkedIn is very good for that, but LinkedIn advertising is very expensive. In comparison, a LinkedIn advert will cost you about £5.50 per click, whereas a Facebook advert will cost you about 50p a click. So if you're going to start a LinkedIn advertising campaign, you need some deep pockets to get it started, but you can be very targeted on it if you're doing business to business stuff. Now, the one of the downsides that we see with doing social media stuff is that it can be a total time sink. So, if you're writing a post to deliver out on a morning, you go out there, you can get sucked into looking at your competitor stuff. You can actually just spend an enormous amount of time each time you create a post. So what you'll find is if you want to maximize your effectiveness on your social media, there are tools which will help you schedule your post to go out before, right? So Buffer, Hootsuite, there are lots of other ones. They're kind of tools that our clients use, and we kind of help our clients to use as well. But what it means is it means that instead of having to, if you want to do 5 posts a week, you don't have to log into Facebook and Instagram and Twitter 5 times a week. You can just spend your allocated, right, I'm going to spend an hour, 2 hours getting all of my social media done for the week, write all of the stuff, schedule all of the posts, and that way it's done and dusted for a week, right? Those tools just save you time. They're so effective that I would, if you're going to be doing social media, I would recommend using them, because you can waste so much time doing social media posting, and that will just help you get onto it. The other part that you can do is when you're researching posts to retweet, that really can be the time sink. And what you can use these posts for is you can use them to listen. So you can kind of go, right, this is the hashtag which I've kind of found some interesting stuff on before. And instead of me going onto social media, this will just give you a feed of that hashtag. And it will mean instead of you kind of getting distracted and going off on a tangent, it will just put the information you need in a little feed so that you can find interesting stuff to repost. So they're really kind of handy at improving your effectiveness on social media advertising, and they've kind of got built-in reporting tools so you can see the reach and everything else that you're doing on your stuff. The next thing is kind of email marketing. So last week we talked about whether customers were ready to buy or not, and what stage of their buying cycle they were in. If they're ready to buy, they're going to buy now, then the email marketing you can use is to actually retain them as customers or get them to buy again. So it increases your customer value by continuing to communicate with that customers, upsell to them, sell them more stuff, keep them engaged as a customer so they keep coming back, right? If they're interested and they're attending a webinar, then you can use your MailChimp to kind of create your sales funnel so that, you know, we'll continue to send out snippets of information to help you guys with your website. And at some point you may come to Click Return to kind of help you with that service. And that is what I would suggest. As soon as you've captured that person's email, then make sure that you get them inside a sales funnel. Whereas if they're not ready to buy yet and they've just downloaded your PDF, the emails that you want to send out are not just a sales funnel, because you know they're not ready to buy yet. You want to send out interesting information and handy tips and tricks and how-tos, because you want to build your relationship and build their opinion of you. So if you've got case studies of this is what this problem this customer had, this is the result we got for them, send that out. This is an interesting how-to of how you can do it yourself, send that out. You know, so those are going to help build your reputation. So depending on the point of the buying cycle that your customer is, depends on the email that you would send out to them and kind of the emails process that you would put them in. And you can, once you understand your customer avatar and the point of the buying cycle, then you can kind of laser align your process so that they sign up, they download your PDF guide, and then you're sending them email after email after email until they finally take the bait, go on your website and actually buy from you or sign up. I think that was probably the busiest week so far. I've talked myself hoarse. Any questions? Is that a perfect sign, Sam, that I've done it? Carol, what have you got?
Sorry. I'm just wondering which which tools you're using to find the Google ads. Is it the Google app, or is it Samurai, or what are you using?
There are lots of tools out there, but lots of them tend to give too much detail.
Okay.
In reality, we just use the Google AdWords keyword tool.
Okay.
And the report that we give you next week will do that. And I'll talk you through the data that we get from that next week as well, so you understand it in a bit more detail, because there's kind of some underlying information. There's kind of tips and tricks you'll get from that data, both for SEO and for paid advertising. So even though the report will tell you how much it would cost to advertise, it will give you information on how difficult it is to search engine optimize for it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So ultimately what we're after, when we've finished this whole process of working out the different channels and getting them all set up, is we're after turning the taps on and actually then having control of those channels. So I've got customers now where we've got Google Ads set up, we've got search engine optimization running, we've got Bing advertising set up, we've got Facebook and Instagram advertising. And when the customer kind of comes to us and goes, I'm going on holiday for 2 weeks, my sales team are not going to keep on top of it, turn off Google, but keep Bing going, and we'll continue this and this and this. And we can turn those taps on and off on demand for you. Once we've got it working, it then becomes a flow of business. The next part, you know, and this is where John comes in, because with this analogy of the bath, John is the person, and his coaching, I don't know whether you're still there, John, where he'll teach you to keep the plug in the bath, because there's no point having all these taps on feeding you sales inquiries if they're just draining out of the bottom of the bath. You've got to make sure that you've got your internal processes in place, one, to deal with the inquiries, convert them well, increase your sales conversion rate, and then actually deliver the service well. And part of the action coach process that we've kind of been through, and I started it all those years ago with Sam, was actually to kind of go through the leverage and the deliverability. So part of the action coach process that you go through is trying to make sure that you're not spending all your money on marketing and then losing those sales. So we are here to kind of help you, give you a hand up, because it seems like we've covered a lot again today. So all you guys have to do if you want help is ask. I know, there is a link on that workbook page that I've kind of given you. There is a link to book a meeting into my calendar. Now you can, if you want to do that now, feel free. If you want to wait till the end of the course, then go for it. But that's the URL, clickreturn.co.uk/workbooks. It's got the slide decks, the recording of today and all the other weeks, and the workbooks. I will be emailing it out to you. And on that page, if you need to, you can book a meeting with me. Next week is focus keywords. So I think in the chat from this Zoom session, I've got all of the information I need from you. Fantastic. If you're watching this on video, if you can email your keywords to brad@clickreturn.co.uk, we will create your keyword report and send it to you as well, so you can catch up with us afterwards. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Look, I have literally finished on the nail of 1 hour. That's good, isn't it? I'm going to hang around for a few minutes. So if you've got any questions, feel free. But I'm going to stop the recording now.